The Miracle Man, Pastor Siva Moodley, was the founder of the Miracle Center, a church in the north of Johannesburg, Gauteng. To his congregation, he was not just a preacher. He was proof that the impossible was possible. His ministry's website declared that it was normal to see radical healings, blind eyes and deaf ears opening, legs growing, cancers and tumors disappearing. He had a television program. He had an international following. His show, Your Miracle Moment, was broadcast on DSTV through Faith TV and TBN Africa. His website stated that his miraculous healings and prophetic ministry had enabled him to speak to governments of 5 different countries, as well as key business leaders globally. And then there were the resurrections. The website records that in 2003, a man named Cade Barley became the first person raised from the dead at one of Moodley's meetings. In 2013, a baby who died before birth was allegedly raised to life in a miracle service after Dr. Siva prayed for the mother in a coma. This was the world Pastor Siva Moodley had built, a world where death was not the end, where miracles were routine, where impossible happened every Sunday. And it is in this world that would make what happened next both extraordinary and devastating. Pastor Siva Moodley died on August 14, 2021, at the age of 53 after falling ill. His body was taken to Martin's funeral home in Roodeport, Johannesburg, a routine arrangement, the beginning of what should have been a dignified farewell, but no farewell came. Instead of making preparations for his funeral, his family simply left his body at the mortuary, awaiting his resurrection. His wife and other members of his family came to the mortuary to pray for his return. They believed completely, utterly, without question. After Pastor Moodley's death, his family and members of the church used to visit the funeral home to pray for his resurrection. The last visit was in September 2021, just 1 month after his death. The visits stopped. The prayers apparently continued elsewhere. And back at the funeral home, in a refrigerated room in Roodeport, the body of Pastor Siva Moodley waited. What happened next is one of the most astonishing chapters of this story. Services at the church continued as normal and were conducted by his wife, son, and daughter. The services were also live streamed on social media. The church had allegedly not openly acknowledged his death on social media or informed the congregation of his whereabouts. His social media accounts, notably Facebook and Twitter, remained operational, with messages posted every day as if they were coming from him. The congregation kept coming. They kept watching. They kept believing their pastor was alive, busy, anointed, simply waiting for his moment to return in glory. Some congregants who declined to be named said Moodley should be buried. One said, "I am glad that the truth is finally out. He was a man of God. He was a righteous person, was well respected. The family needs to set a record straight and give him a dignified burial." But the family said nothing to the press, to the congregation, to the funeral home. Nothing. The funeral home manager, Martin du Toit, was running out of options and patience. He said, "It is a civil matter. I cannot make the decision to bury or cremate him on my own. It has to come from his family, but they are not saying anything. He was a well-known man, does not deserve this kind of treatment." The funeral home made 28 attempts to contact Moodley's wife and children. This included emails, more than 40 WhatsApp messages, and attorney's letters. Every message went unanswered. Storage for human remains cost at least 250 rands per day. By the time authorities stepped in, the bill for storing Moodley's body had climbed close to 100,000 rands. City of Johannesburg representatives visited the mortuary in December 2022 and declared Moodley's remains a health risk. At that point, he had been stored there for more than a year. Still, the family refused to respond. When the case finally reached the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg, the world heard for the first time the reason for all of it. Siva Moodley's widow explained her family's reluctance to consent to the pastor's funeral by claiming that she had heard a vision of a religious leader coming back to life. A vision, a dream, a divine message. She believed that her husband would rise, and so she had waited 1 month, 6 months, a year, nearly 2 years, keeping the church running, keeping the social media pages alive, keeping the faith while her husband lay in the mortuary. Keeping the faith while her husband lay in the refrigerated coffin in Rudenport. The Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg, after reviewing evidence that the family had been contacted 28 times and receiving reports from local authorities about health hazards posed by the body, authorized a mandatory burial or cremation. The court's decision was suspended for 1 month so that it could be properly served on Moodley's immediate family. The funeral home clarified that they did not want to infringe on anyone's religious freedom, but they also had to abide by health regulations. On March 16, 2023, 579 days after his death, Pastor Siva Moodley was finally laid to rest at West Park Cemetery in Johannesburg. Between 40 and 50 people attended. A pastor conducted the service. It was described as dignified. His siblings and extended family were present. His wife and his children did not attend. After the burial, the funeral home announced that the family owed them 100,000 rand for the cost of storing the body and conducting the burial. South African media reported that his wife and children continued to lead their lives as they had before and have still not publicly acknowledged his death. This is not a story about madness. It is not a story about deception. It is a story about belief and what happens when belief becomes so powerful, so total, so all-consuming that it outlasts the very man who created it. Pastor Siva Moodley spent his life telling people that death could be defeated, that miracles were real, that the impossible was possible, and in the end, his own family, even standing beside his coffin, could not convince them that he was gone. He lies now at West Park Cemetery. The church continues. The social media pages remains active. And somewhere in Johannesburg, the people who loved him most are still perhaps waiting. He was a well-known man. He does not deserve this kind of treatment. Please click the link in my bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel.